Anytime.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, to the Plan Commission meeting for December 19, 2023. So the first order to call to the order to the meeting, and next we move to the approval of the minute. I need a motion.
I move approval.
Second.
Any questions, comment? No? All those in favor of approving the minutes for the November 21st meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All this, the motion carried. So next we move to public appearances for non-agenda items. It seems that we don't have anything, so we move to the agenda review. Any comments, question about the agenda? No? Okay. So then we move to item 5 is agenda items. So the first thing, I want to open a public hearing and consideration of Ordinance 2023-0-19 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR-0523, adopting and recommending the fall 2023 amendment to the Comprehensive Plan, amending Map 4.3, Future Land Use Plan Map, and Figure 7-1, Future Land Use Map in the North Stoner Prairie Neighborhood Plan for property location along Lacey Road, specifically from IC, Industrial Commercial, Low Density Residential, and PC, Parks and Conservancy, to IG, Industrial General, Low Residential, and Parks and Conservancy. Okay, so we have a lot of people that they want to speak in this matter. So, okay, so I'm gonna be calling you for the one that registered to speak. You need to say your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes. And when your 3 minutes are up, I'm gonna say your 3 minutes are up, and and we move to the next one. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so the next person I want to call is Matthew Wolf. He wishes to speak in opposition of the above matter. Where is Matthew?
Right.
Okay.
Where do I go?
And the second person I'm going to call, so Brett, if you want to come to the microphone, so when you're ready to, so. Okay.
Okay, I'm Matthew Wolf, 2713 Turnstone Circle. I'm here to just oppose the removal of woodlands and green space as a general thing, but also as part of what I feel like Fitchburg represents. 2 months ago, there was a debate here about switching funds from finishing Wayland Road and paving the bike lanes to improving green space. That, to me, is the type of debate I expect in Fitchburg, not one that is, let's get rid of a bunch of woodlands, the little woodlands that remain between Fitch-Rona and Seminole, in favor of expanding industry. Because one, it's obviously removing a visually appealing part, but it also makes the new bike path on Lacey Road more dangerous. Adding more traffic crossing the bike path makes it less safe. I've used it a bunch since it's been opened. And that's the only part that I dislike, is that I cross where semis frequently cross. It's a big crossing, and it would be less safe with more traffic. So I think, that's really it.
Thank you. Brett?
Sure, I have a handout.
Brett wishes to speak in opposition and answer questions. Sure.
Good evening. I'm Brett Pariseau. I live at 6259 Summit View Drive. I would like to thank members of the Plan Commission, particularly Deanna Schmidt, Mike Zimmerman, Randy Udell, Bill and Clint of Payne and Dolan for allowing us to have this conversation and acknowledging our concerns about the original proposal. We appreciate what you do. With the loss of the 6-acre old-growth woodland conservancy in the original Payne and Dolan parcel, creating a new woodland environmental corridor and not a flat field of grass is paramount. The proposed green space narrows to 40 yards at the south end of the hill, composed of an overfill and a natural ridge. Because this area is so narrow, if you look at the graphic, we request that the side of this hill and the trees that are at the base of the hill facing the neighborhood within the green space proposed be preserved as a scenic overlook and a wildlife sanctuary. When I spoke with Bill at the meeting, he said this is possibly something that they could do, in which case it would be fantastic because it is sort of a wildlife sanctuary. And if you look at the handout, you see how there's 50-foot high mature trees at the base of that hillside. And at 1,135 feet tall, it is the tallest point around, and it is a natural protective buffer between the residential and the industrial. However, if this hill is removed, then you have a new problem, which is how do you create a berm high enough to do exactly what the hill was doing already, which is to provide a buffer between the green space and the neighborhood and the industrial complex. So I feel you really have a unique opportunity to put this all together in a reasonable way that would be really transformative for all of Fitchburg. As I've mentioned before, attractive cities preserve woodland with unpaved hiking and biking trails because everyone likes to live and work near them. So I imagine if you have a woodland corridor sweeping from the Quarry Ridge recreational area south through the proposed South Stoner Prairie neighborhood and then sweeping east, you could have miles of woodland and trails, which I think would really transform Fitchburg and yet still have your industrial park. I think this all can come together really well, working with Clint and Bill. And it would really be transformative. So I think it takes some courage and possibly a pause to do this. It's easy to vote yes, but if you think it through and do this right, future generations will never forget what you did. So in conclusion, I invite you, implore you to come view the area with me and see its potential the way I see it. And I'm pretty sure if you do, you'll agree. And if I'm wrong, I'll buy you a beer at the Hop House. Thanks for listening. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Next, Tim Buckney and Matthew Roberts.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to speak. I wanted to point out that, I think the neighborhood itself is vulnerable to the new zoning and industrialization of the neighborhood. I think already we have Verona Road, which I've actually measured from my front porch at about 95 decibels. We've recorded 70 decibels inside our house of noise from there. Now, my concern and question will be coming to follow this is that I appreciate Payne and Dolan's expansion of a buffer between the neighborhood and the industrial area. My concern and what I want to know is at what point can we get assurances that the buffer is built to do what it should do, which is protect the neighborhood from additional noise, light, that sort of thing. And I think, and so my question is, at what point, during this process, can we get assurances that the buffer is built correctly rather than the cheapest way possible?
Thank you. Matthew Roberts?
Matthew Roberts, 6258 Summit View Drive. And I definitely, so I do appreciate the opportunity to speak today and appreciate some of the comments and discussions we've had with Payne and Dolan, and I definitely support and echo the comments made by Dr. Parasell and Dr. Buney, who just spoke. To me, I feel that, I've come up here and said before, I've been very disappointed by the loss of woodland habitat that Payne and Dolan has said and is documented online in some of their online literature that says that land is worth preserving and is now gone, has been removed, over 6 acres. I also voiced concerns about the appearance of the neighborhood once that development goes in. And I am encouraged. I'm happy that they have said, we will work with you. I've heard that repeatedly. But I think at this point, the comment, we will work with you, is insufficient. And I think a number of people in the neighborhood would like to have a little more detail and granularity about some of their concerns, and just kind of agreeing with Tim that a more detailed plan about what they want to do, I think would be helpful. So my requests are, one, would be a little more detail in terms of like a topographical layout, like Tim said, that berm, what is this buffer, what is this berm that's going to go in, that's going to be a visual and sound barrier. Much more detail than just a picture with a 5-foot-high berm, but something that actually explains what the line of sight would be. I'd also like to understand what happens if you put in these 15 lots for these houses and you can't attract prospective buyers at fair market value. What happens if nobody wants those lots because it overlooks an industrial general park? I wouldn't buy them personally based on the visual that I have in my head. And so would we be back here in a few years because they'll change the plan once again and there'll be apartment complexes there? I'd like some reassurance on what this plan is, and I'd like it to be something in writing, something that could be published and shared, so that would alleviate some of our concerns. So, thanks.
Thank you. So next is Kristen Howler, Benjamin Bass.
Hi there. I'm Kristen Heweiler, 6258 Summit View Drive, and thanks for the opportunity to speak. I just brought a few notes with me so I can keep my thoughts clear. I really appreciate the changes that have been proposed so far to add some additional green space that's been talked about. We really need that buffer, but beyond that buffer, we really need some details around how we'll get decreased sound and light pollution. So to that, really I'm looking for some specifics that are put in writing that the neighborhood can agree upon with the developers, and that we stick with that plan. We know multi-year plans that involve lots of people. If you don't have detailed plans, they're not in writing, it's not going to happen accurately. So that's my 2 cents on that. Additionally, I think we need some more definition around the topographical level of this industrial park. Right now with the quarry, it sits at a much lower level. We don't actually get a lot of sound from that. But my concern is that level is going to come up, and that industrial park is going to produce a lot of sound, it's going to produce a lot of light pollution in our neighborhood and really decrease the quality of life there. And lastly, I have a few additional questions. Are there going to be any building height restrictions for this industrial park? If so, I think that should also be documented in the plan. And will there, to Matt's point he made earlier, will there be a phased development for the industrial park relative to the neighborhood development? Because I think what would benefit all of us is if you did the neighborhood, the berm, the green space. If those lots sell and houses are indeed built, families move into them, you proceed with the second part of the plan, because then you actually have a viable plan. If those lots don't sell, you don't have a viable plan, right? Otherwise, you have a loss-leading strategy here where we're going to put in place some houses, but then nobody really wants to live there. To Matt's point, we would never have built in this neighborhood had the plan that's being laid out right now was put in front of us. The plan that we built on was an additional residential neighborhood with an industrial park much further away. Those are my questions. Basically, the asks are to have more definition around this berm, more definition around the topographical area, and then really to consider a phased development plan. Thank you.
Benjamin Bass.
Hi, Benjamin Bass, 2709 Turnstone. Thanks again for letting me speak. I wanted to also express many of the same sentiments, but I feel like Payne and Dolan did a good job with a lot of their proposal and expanding the green space in particular and creating a wider buffer between the residential area and the industrial area, and making sure that the drainage plan or their proposal indicated the drainage would be more or less separated between residential and industrial, which I think are all really important points that we should ensure. I think a lot of the discussion has been about the details of how the green space would be structured or where the berm would be. And I think one of the big possibilities or the potential of that green space is to have continuous green space that's both connected to Quarry Ridge and the next residential neighborhood developments south of Lacey Road. And I think it would be really a great idea to bring out both some of the NICA team executives or coaches, and because I know that they need more room for their team. They're already splitting the teams up between practices because the school sport's grown larger than the available trails, and bring out some of the court members who do trail structure and planning, and potentially lay out some proposals for the topographical plan based on having continuous trails that connect neighborhoods. And if we can build the berm and structure the berm around making the best use of that area, I think that would help all of us feel really good about the plan going forward.
Okay, thank you. Next one is Mark Ketterer and Jennifer. They wish to registered only to in opposition. They don't want to speak. Okay, they're registered in opposition. Okay. So next we have another. What is this? Jeff and Linda Potter. They are registered in opposition. And then online we have two people. Nathan Score. He wishes to speak in opposition. Nathan? Okay.
Yes. Hi. Thank you. My name is Nathan Score, 6271 Summit View. And I'm a relatively newer resident, also first time speaking at one of these, so thank you. I appreciate it. I have a family of four, two children, 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and our residences has the park directly in our backyard. The green space forested area is something that we valued the past 2 years, as it provides a great landscape for us and our children and the many families in our neighborhood as they play outside at the park, ride bikes around the neighborhood, etc. I understand there's most likely extensive amount of work and research that went into the proposal by Payne and Dolan, and we appreciate their willingness to listen and cooperate with us and our concerns. The most recent amendment definitely brings us closer. I do unfortunately still think it leaves a little bit too much room for a designated industrial area, especially near the Lacey Road area in the residential, encroaching too closely in that space for residential. It also clears more forested area than necessary. I do have concerns with how many children of the neighborhood play in the backyards that lead directly into those operating businesses, industrial areas, or that increase traffic without the extended green area surrounding it closer to Lacey Road. This decision may not seem like a very big one to some of you, but it will have lasting impacts to many of us in the neighborhood. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Karen Sagar.
Yes, hi. I'm Karen Sager. I live at 6259 Summit View Drive. Members of the Plan Commission, we all want our representatives and elected officials to be good stewards of the community and people we can trust. Payne and Dolan provided you with a signed written plan in 2019 that repeatedly emphasized the importance of preserving 6 acres of old growth trees. But it seems we've all been duped. Those trees are gone, and the developers have provided no consistent answer about why they were destroyed. In fact, once they even pointed the finger at you, saying that the city was responsible for the loss of these trees. Could that be true? Well, this isn't about pointing fingers. It's about making the best of the situation. And the neighbors of Quarry Vista have made multiple attempts to do just that. We've met with our alders. We've attended Plan Commission and Common Council meetings. We've made phone calls and sent emails and spent countless hours digging through documents. Alder Randy Udell kindly arranged a meeting for us with Payne and Dolan. At the Common Council meeting last week, we followed Ms. Schmidt's advice and reached out to Payne and Dolan again. And the outcome? Crickets. We want to know that our concerns matter to you, members of the Plan Commission. Our neighbors have thoughtfully outlined what we want, which are reasonable compromises to the loss of woodland preserve that everyone, even the developers, agreed were important. Turning a drainage pond into parks and open spaces is not an equal or fair concession on the developer's part. 1 acre of trees along Lacey Road is a nice gesture, but we expect more given what was lost. In these climatically perilous times, when the cooling and oxygenating properties of trees have never been more, more valued. My assistant. It seems counterintuitive to support chopping them down. We trust that you'll do the right thing. Please restore the lost Woodland Conservancy and create a woodland trail system that benefits Fitchburg and, and our surrounding communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next I will call Clint Wenninger and Bill Boglas, the developers.
Great, thank you. My name's Clint Wenninger. I reside at 2123 Springbrook North, Waukesha, Wisconsin. With me is Bill Buglas. We're both with Payne and Dolan. Excuse me. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here tonight. As many of you know, we've been operating mining active quarries on two pieces of property that are in this comp plan amendment along Lacey Road. We've been mining those for many years in a responsible manner and consistent with the submitted plans and approvals for those operations. The properties are nearing the end of their life as quarries, and we are starting to prepare for what happens in the future when the mining is complete, hence the reason for our comp plan amendment. In October, the Plan Commission did approve the comp plan amendment that we had submitted. However, after that meeting, in response to the feedback that we got from the public hearing and the neighbors, we decided to revise the original application. The major change in that application was revised proposal was to include additional green space. That revised plan more than doubles the green space and provides for a connected corridor from Quarry Ridge Recreational Area to the property south of Lacey Road. We did hold a neighborhood meeting several weeks ago to discuss our revised comp plan amendment. We had a good positive dialogue with our neighbors and believe we addressed most of their concerns. I think the slides from our presentation were included in your packet for tonight's meeting. We are committed to enhancing the green space with berming, grading, and landscaping, which the neighbors all liked. These enhancements will help address other concerns that the neighbors had, such as line of sight for future development, separation of stormwater, and no traffic through that green space connecting the industrial to the residential. We also did agree with the neighbors that we would meet with them in the future when that final reclamation was getting near, and we would get their input on what grading and landscaping should occur there prior to completing that final reclamation of the site. I believe the staff report covers our application pretty well, and we're available to answer any additional questions you may have. We appreciate your support and consideration of this revised comp plan amendment request. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, do you want to add anything else?
No, Bill Buglas. I'm with Payne and Dolan. Our office is over on Lacey Road, and I'm here to answer questions or help in any way I can.
Okay, thank you. So next, I'm going to ask the staff for reports. So,
good evening, everyone. I'll just briefly do an overview of the key points in the staff report. This property is located on an outlot, originally as part of CSM 15053. The applicants are proposing an amendment to the future land use map for the comprehensive plan and also the North Stoner Prairie neighborhood plan. Plan Commission did approve the original amendment, and as just previously noted, the applicants have been working with the neighborhood to address their concerns. In response to those concerns, the changes were quite significant. Therefore, the planning staff is bringing back the proposed amendment back to you, the Plan Commission, for review once again, as you can see, following a public hearing. On December 12th, Council held a public hearing on the original proposed amendment that was originally approved by Plan Commission. And at that point, Council has postponed their review of this revised amendment to February 13th to allow the Plan Commission to once again review this proposal. It's important for staff to also recognize the concerns of the neighbors. I know there's significant talk, there's talk about the detailed, about the future topography, about lighting, about noise. Those are things that are not addressed specifically at this level of planning. Right now, we're just considering broad land use categories. Staff will, of course, be working with any future applicants to address lighting, topography, and any noise. The change to industrial general future land use, it's important to note that the city would not, in order to approve any sort of heavy manufacturing or any businesses with potential significant environmental impacts would require a conditional use permit from Plan Commission. I don't feel that a heavy industrial use is going to be appropriate in this location. I think that a more appropriate use is already what you can see along Commerce Park Drive in relation to Sub-Zero, Pro Mega. And it's important to also note that the city does need industrial land uses. It's a key part of our overall goals for employment and economic development. The quarry operations, as noted, have been proceeding under a conditional use permit that was originally issued several decades ago and then reapproved by Plan Commission in 2018. So the quarry has been operating under the conditional use permit that was approved by Plan Commission in 2018. I'd also like to draw the Plan Commission's attention to the current topographic features that have been mentioned. The current topographic features are mostly overburden that has been placed there temporarily in order to be used at a later date for the quarry reclamation. All quarries have reclamation plans. This one does also. Those reclamation plans are approved by Plan Commission, but also Dane County. Let's see. Finally, I would just like to make another point that the park and conservancy area has increased from the original proposal approved by Plan Commission from 6 acres to 12 acres. And I am open for some questions.
Okay, so now I open the question to the Plan Commission.
Yes.
Okay.
Or you can take a motion now if you'd like, or discussion.
We are going to go to discussion. Okay, so who is going first? Shelley? Okay.
So, Deanna, you said the vote from council was delayed till February to allow for Plan Commission, but there'd be a Plan Commission meeting in January. Was any part of the delay to allow more time for Payne and Dolan to meet with the neighbors?
That's a good question, and the delay has to do with our public notice requirements. We have to have at least a 30-day window to do a public notice for a council hearing, and just working back through the holidays, that's where we ended up is February. So it had to do with the public notification requirements.
Any other question?
Well, I mean, I probably have a few. So you mentioned the overburden pile, which I have no idea what that is. I'm just reciting the words. But is that, I don't know where that is on the map, and is that part of what is now looks like a ridge? So that could be leveled?
Yes, so this entire area, I'm sorry. Nice. I think it's coming, just hold on.
That hill's showing in that.
It's not working.
This one?
Yeah. I'll try again.
There.
No dice.
Okay.
It worked previously. So there we go.
There.
So this topography right here is overburden, and it's stored material that was removed to allow for the quarry operation.
Okay, so that will be leveled.
That is how the reclamation plan, the approved reclamation plan is, the details is that would be leveled and used in the reclamation of the quarry.
And
Correct.
then the original proposal had a large segment of stormwater management, which had been purple.
Yep, this
And-
was the original proposal.
So how much green space was added other than what the then purple to now green, simply because of the stormwater management area?
I don't have a number, Clint, but I know this section was added in here. So an acre or two, maybe. Clint, help me.
Yeah, I don't have the exact numbers that changed, but we in the most recent plan that's there, we significantly reduced the size of the stormwater pond and also made a note that we were going to preserve the existing trees up on that far northern part of the parcel that was added as well.
So when you reduce the stormwater and it then becomes park space, that's then usable park space. So you've increased the usability even though visually it's still
Correct.
green.
Correct.
And then I think I just have one other question. It's more for the city. Now, you say, I know we need more industrial, but if we left just a small buffer of commercial to the west there, I don't know how much, but just some kind of a buffer between perhaps heavier industrial, would that affect the benefits that the city's looking for? And maybe that's for Mike or somebody. I don't know.
I don't feel.
Yeah, you wouldn't. I'm really asking Mike.
Mike Zimmerman, Economic Development Director for the City of Fitchburg. And we are in need of industrial land. In the last year, we had about 16 kind of RFPs that we received. Of the 16, 10 actually were looking for vacant land. And of the vacant land, they were looking for 15 plus acres in a lot of cases. And that's kind of the spectrum right now that we are really in short supply of. So we are looking for kind of larger tracts of land, and I know Payne and Dolan had kind of a concept plan that you see there with a street network that kind of goes through there, but I think they're preserving the option and the flexibility that it could be not necessarily smaller lots unless market demand drives it that way, but also would be larger lots for it. So in the world that I operate in, we've been getting a lot of inquiries for 10 plus acres. And if you're looking at the land from kind of Cottonwood to the north, which is in the Fitchburg Commerce Park, all the way down to Lacey Road, that's an area that it's kind of a remnant of our history as a town where there were quarry operations. So it's now time to reclaim that area into kind of urban service area uses here. So as you might remember, there was a proposal to you before from Payne and Dolan with our friends at General Beverage, where they acquired a 7-acre parcel from Payne and Dolan property on the south side of Cottonwood. So one of the things that we're working on is in 2024, we would like to create a tax increment district that would go all the way from Cottonwood down to Lacey Road to cover this industrial area. That's kind of the visioning and the master planning that we're doing. And it's not just for new companies to come to Fitchburg, it's also for existing companies. So we're taking care of General Beverage along Cottonwood. One of the main property owners in the middle of this area that would come down to Lacey Road is Sub-Zero, which has a large parcel just to the north of the Payne and Dolan property there. So some of the uncertainty and unknowns start to become more known, with those property owners. And as Deanna articulated, we're really looking at clean manufacturing and light industrial uses here. So like the General Beverages, the Sub-Zeros of the world, the Promegas, and there's another Fitchburg company that I can't name right now, but that is asking for, hey, Fitchburg, where do you got a 10-plus acre parcel? And this land right here is one of the site areas that I shared with them that may be a possibility. No guarantees, but a possibility that they might be willing to look at there. So long-winded answer to say we need industrial land, and I think some of the other questions and concerns from the neighborhood with regards to architectural design and review, site plan, landscaping, lighting, even building heights, those will come in that next phase, of review when specific uses start to come forward. And I think Fitchburg and our planning department does a great job of adhering to our parameters and standards there, and we've always focused on the quality of development, and I think we've got a good track record to stand on with that.
Thank you.
Any other question for Mike?
I can stick around up here for a little bit in case there's more that come up.
Who is next? Carol, do you have a question?
Actually, that was my question too, was about, but I guess to take that question about the berm one step further, is that berm's going away regardless of how this gets developed because it's part of the reclamation plan, correct?
Yes. I have a question about that. Can we keep that berm and then can bring additional soil for the reclamation? It's so important for the neighbors to keep that topography that is a pile of dirt right now. Keep it and then bring additional, soil supply, I don't know how you call it, for the reclamation. I don't know, could be that a possibility?
Yeah, when we met with the neighbors, they brought up the idea of leaving a portion, excuse me, of that pile of overburden that's in the southwest corner, I guess you'd say. And in particular, they were looking at trying to leave the side of that berm, a portion of that berm that faces them, that they can see. And that was the point at which I said, we'd be happy to try to do that. And part of it depends on just how much dirt is needed to reclaim the site. And if we have to bring it in from off-site, it increases the cost of reclamation dramatically. And as a matter of fact, the reclamation plan as it is now does not include bringing anything in from off-site. So we offered to circle back with the neighbors at whatever time it is that we get in a position to be able to start doing the reclamation of the site and looking at what we can do to save especially that portion of the overburden pile that they look at. Let's put it that way.
But it could be a possibility because this is the breaking point, to move forward, It could be a possibility.
Yes.
Okay.
So I feel like part of the challenge on this is that's a possibility until, the person who purchases lot 1 comes in, right? And then I think we go through this same exercise again, correct?
No, because this is a reclamation site. They need to reclaim that. So.
No, I understand. If they were to leave the mound, they were to leave the overburden mound, that's phase 1, right? And then because that southwest corner would be designated industrial, could be sold to a developer, and they could then choose to change the topography based on their need.
No, because we are going to keep that part as an environmental corridor. They cannot touch it.
So as I understand it right now, the overburden pile is within the purple. Is that incorrect?
It extends. You can kind of see it on this map. It's a large structure in this area.
Right. So I guess my suggestion is if I saw that southwest corner, so the western portion of lot 1 as green, then I would have confidence that would be protected in that way. But because I don't see it that way right now, I guess I still feel like there's potential for that to get removed or changed.
Carol?
But if we change that or request it to be changed, we're actually requesting the county to change the reclamation plan as well, and our plan would be in conflict with the county, correct?
We've approved the reclamation plan, reapproved in 2018. I believe we would have to reapprove the reclamation plan if there was a significant deviation.
And would that have to go to the county as well then?
Fill me in, guys.
Would.
Any other questions?
However, if
Okay.
the berm is, or pile of overburden is larger, it actually covers part of the area in green and then goes into the industrial area. And the part that the neighbors would like to have left is actually in the green. So you can never put a building there.
I also want to clarify that some of the trees that they were removed because of the Lacey Road reconstruction. So it wasn't because of Pale and Nolan. It was part of the reconstruction. So,
and actually quite a significant portion of the trees. I know it's a little bit difficult, but this is a very current map of an aerial photograph, and this entire area of trees was removed for Lacey Road. So a significant portion of the trees were removed by the city.
Question. So
Yeah.
some of the neighbors are also talking about making continuous green space down into the southern, across Lacey Road. With this, I just want to clarify, with this green space, with this plan, does that make that possible to kind of have continuous green space?
Here is what is proposed. This is what's current. And I know it's a little bit difficult to see, but the existing quarry on the south side of Lacey is right here, and there's a proposed green space here. So yes, the intention is to make that, here's the existing quarry, and then here's the connection that's coming down.
I have one more question.
yes.
Of course.
So I don't know who wants to represent the neighborhood, but looking at this map, in your ideal world, where would you want more green? You choose who's going to represent you guys. It's unclear to me. I know you've appreciated the change, and it is a change, and I'm just wondering what...
Sure. I think you all received the email that we put of compiled neighborhood goals last Thursday. And we realized that these are just goals, and some goals aren't achievable, but it was just to compile what the neighbors sent to me into one document. And what came about was really that we were very appreciative of going from 6 to 12 acres. That was wonderful, and we really thank Payne and Dolan and you for doing that. The thing that we did really wonder about is that this is a huge pile of dirt that's sitting there, and you're just seeing the side facing the neighborhood in that diagram we shared with you. About 1/3, I would guess, is probably in the green space, and maybe 3/4, 2/3 are in the purple area there. And the thought was that we need a berm there. This is a natural berm, and if we could possibly preserve, even just at the top of that, maybe a 10-foot wide swath that tapers down, that would be beautiful. And then we can all go home and call it a night. But we don't know if that can be done because no one knows if they need enough fill or not to do what they need to do to reclaim it. And so therein lies this question of where are we at? We did the original calculations, and we thought that roughly an additional, what we thought would be reasonable, would probably be another 3 acres if we could, either on the eastern border or towards the south where this hill is, which acts like a natural buffer. But we also know you guys need an industrial park. And so it's just all about compromise. What's reasonable? What is philosophically, if you're going to try and build a giant network of trails, which I hope you are really seriously thinking about doing, this would be the anchor for it. What really is the amount of acreage you need to do this? In my mind, I always thought 15 acres would be wonderful to do, another 3, and probably down by that narrow neck would be a wonderful spot to do it. But having said that, if we could preserve that 1/3 of the hill facing us, minimize your cost to fill in the quarry or whatever needs to be done, I think we have a pretty good, reasonable compromise. And that's what it's all about, trying to find a good compromise so we can move forward. So in a long-winded speech there, I would say it'd be nice to have an additional 3 of green, especially when it narrows, because that scale where it narrows, that's only 40 yards wide. That strip along Lacey is probably about 100 feet wide. So that just kind of gives you the scale of what you're working with there. I'll shut up. Thank you.
In terms of these, I guess this is a little bit to Mike, maybe also the planning department, but like the purple is a lot that a business would purchase to create a building of some sort, right? But the building, it still has environment around it, right? There's still green space on the edges. So like the building isn't, I guess what I'm just saying is that in terms of like the buffer between the neighborhood and whatever building is built, part of that purple area is certainly going to be green space, correct? Because
yes, so we do have a requirement with almost all of our planning to have a maximum of 65% impervious surface. That means the rest of the 35% would need to be green space or some sort of landscaping.
okay, so presumably they can create a more continuous green space into that parcel that's owned by the whatever business purchases it.
Yep.
Or that's part of what we will consider as a plan commission, as part of the architectural design review. And very clear that the neighborhood's interested in that, and also that sounds wonderful. So
on the flip side, could they put a paved parking lot right up to that boundary with a 6-foot-high fence on the other side?
Well, that's the thing. It's like we don't know at this point based on the plan, just because of where we are in the process. But you know, the neighborhood's been great in terms of being engaged with the process, and I think it's very clear that you'll come out for whatever the next step is. And I think we're all on the same page in terms of maximizing the amount of green space. Like I think that's definitely something that we want to do. And I appreciate your vision for creating green space that kind of like extends down into an environmental corridor. I think that justifies making sure that whatever is brought in there, that some of the green space is part of that edge of it's part of that side of the parcel. So. But there will be more steps. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that there's more steps and there's more opportunities to make this a more beautiful parcel. But like I said, and I've talked a lot with Mike, and we need these spaces. We need to bring businesses in. And I really think it's important that we, reclaim this quarry and bring something in to replace it. Because right now it's just that open face, and we're not able to establish new trees, not able to establish anything new green space because of where it stands right now. And so I'm excited about the prospect of bringing in a good business and the fact that there's lots of people that lots of businesses that want to come here and just don't have the space to do it. Definitely justifies creating a big parcel so that there's availability for it.
Mike?
Just ask a question. There's another step in the process too after the minor comp plan amendment. Because it's greater than 35 acres, there would be a next step in the future would be a comprehensive development plan before we would get to specific development proposals with architectural design review and site plans. Can you just kind of share with the audience here what that process looks like?
Yes, so this is actually a fairly lengthy process before we can even start talking about a building permit. If Plan Commission would support and Council would support the minor comp plan amendment, the next step would be a comprehensive development plan. And pretty much like what it sounds, but it gets more detailed on any potential road layouts, property lines. It starts looking at the environmental features in specifics. So right now we're at a very, very high level just at long-term land uses. And as we go into the comprehensive development plan, we can start looking at traffic, proposed traffic flows, existing traffic flows, stormwater drainage, utilities, roadway layouts, and potential property lines. After that step, then we go into the platting process, so a preliminary plat and a rezone and a final plat. So that actually creates the property lines. Once those steps are done, then we can start talking about the architectural site design, what the buildings are going to look like, how high the buildings are going to be, where the parking lots are going to sit. That's the point where we start looking at the lighting also. And we do have, I just want to say, I've heard the concerns about noise. This is actually nothing new for Fitchburg. In our Fitchburg Technology Park, we have very stringent requirements for decibels, and every single project that comes through, we ensure that the noise levels meet or at or below very stringent standards. So I'd just like to assure the neighbors too that we have a lengthy process. We listen to the neighbors as we go through that process. We have several tools at hand to make sure that we have a good development that meets our future needs. So.
Yes, and then Bill. Okay.
Sure. This is actually to Bill and Clint. Do you know what elevation you are shooting for leveling out the bottom of the pit? What would be the elevation?
No, it'll start at Commerce and move west at about a 1% increase, 3/4 of the way across, and then it'll go down at about 1%. So it'll be pretty flat. It'll have a slight, because you have to carry the water.
The entire 48 acres, then pretty much flat?
Yes.
Okay. Because if we knew the level it would be, and we knew the height of the buildings, we could then easily calculate the height of a berm that would be needed to block the view.
But we don't have a clue.
But we don't have that yet, and that's kind of where we're
Yeah,
all kind of sweating in our beds in our neighborhood of how high of a berm will you need to pull this off.
Yeah, that one is going to come in the future. So we don't even know what type of, project they're coming. So
I would just like to conclude that we're very comfortable with the minor comp plan amendment that we've put forth, and staff obviously feels the same way, as they've said that they recommend that Plan Commission approve this minor comp plan amendment.
any other, Carol?
Can you bring up page 41 from the packet, which is the future line of sight diagram?
I will try. Okay. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Oh,
I just think it
that
might
one?
be helpful to see.
That one? In this packet? Or am I in the right place?
You're on page 17, 18, something. On my computer, it's page 41. It's the future line of sight.
It's 18 on this one, I think.
Oh.
Yep. The one that Mike's showing.
Keep scrolling down.
Got
There,
it.
that one.
Okay.
Do you have a question, Carol, about this?
Well, I wondered that this might answer some of the questions.
Oh.
So the berm that's shown in this diagram, that's in the way of the line of sight, which shows that your line of sight is going to be above the berm. You're up in the sky, above a mature-sized tree. I'm assuming those are. Is that the size berm that you guys plan to put in behind the houses that shows on? Hang on, there's a lot of pages here. There's a drawing where you show an earthen berm. So that's if you go up about 4 slides.
Okay.
This one?
No, keep going. That one. So is that the line of sight based on that berm right there that's in the diagram?
Correct. From the northernmost street in the subdivision.
So even if the overburden pile has to go to follow the reclamation plan, that berm would provide that visual relief at that height. Can you go back down to the...
Right, and even on the south end, some of that berm might incorporate some of that overburden pile that's already there as well, so.
I don't know if that helped me in looking at this, have less concern about the overburden going away.
I've looked at all these diagrams, and the thing of it is, it's all about perspective. The further you move a berm away from where you're standing, the shorter it looks, is this perspective. And I know that the elevation of where we're at is 1,060. And I can calculate pretty easy if the buildings are 42 feet tall, if I know the base elevation, how high a berm would have to be. And because of the distance, it becomes a pretty good size range, and it is quite tall at that distance away from the homes. So there's some math there that's involved, because you can be next to a 6-foot berm and it blocks your view when you're a foot away from it, but when you move it back a couple hundred feet, it's just a little tiny ridge on the horizon.
Are we still in public hearing?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So I'm gonna close it when someone moves for a motion.
Okay.
So is it possible to, can you go back to the map with the, I don't know if those were lots or?
Yep.
The green. Is it possible in any way to carve a little into that, the southwest lot and make a little more of that green space? Or does that make it such a strange lot size that it's almost unbuildable?
No.
No, what?
We're very comfortable with the plan that we put forth, and staff is, and we will, as I've said, work with the neighbors to see if we can't leave that visual aspect of the berm that's there, of the overburden pile that's there.
If you could pull that off, it would be wonderful. I can't tell you enough.
Well, I still have the same question because...
What is your question?
Is it possible to, and I'm not asking the applicant, maybe it's more planning department and Mike, would it make it just an almost unbuildable lot if you, at the southwest purple lot there, if you just carved into it a little more for a little more green space, which I think would be a little more ideal for the neighbors? Am I not? I'm sorry if I'm not describing this. Can you change the lot size of that bottom square? Is there any?
So like if you cut a triangle out of the lowest corner
right.
to turn it into green space. Yeah.
Right.
But it could be a possible green space when, because we need to maintain that setback for the building. So we can, like Diana explained, it can be part of the 35%.
Right. That would be visual green space, but not usable because it's on private property. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just asking what the possibilities are. I recognize it probably would make it such an oddly shaped lot that it's hard to build on, but I just want to know if it's possible.
Yeah.
And I would agree with that. I don't feel like it cuts into these 10-acre lots like we're talking about, and I do feel like it provides a level of compromise, retains more of the space that I think the citizens are most concerned about, backs off the industrial from kind of the southernmost corner of residential development. So if that was possible, I would be far more in favor of that for, I think, a lot of the reasons laid out here.
Carol, do you have a question?
Well, I was just going to say the lots that are shown on this map are conceptual. Those are not lots that are planned. It's all just conceptual. So it's
Oh, okay.
It's not going to destroy a lot. However, it's going to change the total acreage of the industrial if we do that, obviously, which...
Maybe, the two, you see two now, on your left, two, lot. It could be one, because a potential, company can say we want the two lots, and maybe they put the building up to the, north, and then they keep the south. You don't know.
And even if we were to cut out a corner across that bottom, if they need that berm for fill, it's not going to stay the way it is necessarily. So it could end up not being a ridge and still being flat, which is not fixing the problem.
Yeah.
I think that the applicants have brought together a good compromise. I think that they need to work with the neighborhood, but I think we need to move forward with this.
Okay, so
That's my
I need
opinion.
a motion.
I'll move approval of ordinance 2023-019. Do we need to do them separately? Or the Plan Commission first?
I would like you to do them separately.
Okay. Would you do the Plan Commission one first? Or?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I'll move approval of Plan Commission Resolution PCR 0523.
Second.
And I will ask for roll call.
Yep. Let me just take this down.
Do you want to ask?
Any more discussion? This is your time. No? Okay, so you're ready to vote. Okay.
Okay, I will read off. Carol Poole.
Aye.
Josh Knackert.
Nay.
Shelley Malofsky.
Aye.
Alder Gabriela Gerhardt.
Aye.
And Mayor Julio Radafrada.
Aye. Okay, so
The
now,
motion passes.
okay, so next, which is one?
So now if I could have a motion on a recommendation to Common Council on ordinance 2023-019.
I'll move approval of ordinance 2023-019.
Second.
Okay, roll call again.
Yep. Josh Knackert.
Nay.
Carol Poole.
Aye.
Shelley Malowski.
Aye.
Alder Gabriela Gerhardt.
Aye.
And Mayor Julio Radafrada.
Aye.
And the motion passes.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next we move to item B, certified survey map CS-2929-23, request by Clinton Collins, agent for Sub-Zero Wolf, Inc., and Fitchburg Real Estate, LLC, to approve certified survey map in order to consolidate two parcels into one, in order to create a buildable lot on property associated with 2825 Butts Drive.
And so you have Clinton here.
Where is Clinton?
He's right up front for you.
Okay. So we have Clinton Collins. So he wishes to speak and answer questions. So you want to speak and
more or less just answer questions if you have any. We have two lots there, excuse me, where we have our barn property. We have a gravel lot above that, and we'd like to combine the two for future uses that we have not fully determined yet.
Okay. So Diana, want to explain?
Of course. So this industrial parcel IG, just a little bit away from the site we have just discussed on Commerce Park Drive. The proposal is consistent with the future land use plan. And what is happening is Lot 2 of CSM 14235 and Lot 3 of CSM 261 is being proposed to combine into one buildable parcel. There's no timeline for construction on the proposed parcel, and as Clinton noted, there's no specified use at this particular time. Staff does recommend approval with 8 conditions.
Okay, any question for Carol? Oh, any question for...
I was going to say.
Okay, I wake up very early.
It's been a long day, so I gotcha.
Sorry, guys. So, any question? No? I don't know, can you share what is the plan for this parcel, if you can?
We don't have anything specific right now, but
Okay.
we'd like the opportunity to either, it could be some office space at some point in time,
Okay.
or it could be an additional usage for our barn property there.
Oh, okay.
We're continually sort of expanding our need for space for our team, and Fitchburg has been a great spot to put all of our new buildings, so we just want to make the parcels set up so that it's easier for us to build on them, get away from the lot lines that we'd have to abide upon between the two lots. So just to make the property easier to utilize in the future.
Okay. Gabriela?
Can you say what the barn property is? I don't.
That's
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a nice piece. It's right about where it says Lot 1 on there, if you want to pull it up, actually. We have, you see the circle on there, just north of that weird shaped building is a barn that we built. We opened it up in 2017. It's completely reclaimed timber on the inside, and it looks like a 100-year-old barn on the inside. Now, if you've been in a Wisconsin barn, I'm not going to say you're going to believe it, but the people that come visit our property do. There's a demonstration kitchen there. There's an entertainment area. There's a loft, a cow that's 30% larger than the average cow, and of course, outdoor space and a corporate garden there that we grow all of our vegetables and then bring them in there and cook and preserve the vegetables with our appliances. So it's let's call it a training and hospitality space for our guests.
I had the opportunity to do the tour a couple of years ago, and I was amazed.
It's a nice building.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
So
I had no idea.
Maybe
So
you need to
that's
invite
very
you to
cool.
a tour.
I was just going to say, if we could get tours of that at some point, I'd be a big fan.
Any other comments, questions? No?
I'll move approval of certified survey map CS 2929-23
Second.
All those in favor?
with the 8 conditions
with the
by
8,
staff.
okay. All those in favor of the certified survey map, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carry. Okay, thank you. So next we move to item C, certified survey map CS-2590-23, request by Gary Gorman, agent for Gary J. Gorman Legacy Trust, to approve a certified survey map to allow the subdivision of one agricultural tract into 2 agricultural parcels on property located off Kane Road. Okay, so we have what?
I think you lost 2 commissioners. Do you want to offer a recess?
Oh, yeah, we don't have quorum. No, we have quorum. Yeah, we continue. Yes, we have quorum.
All right.
Yes, we have 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
I think they need to abstain then from the vote if they're not here for the testimony.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, we can wait. So we need to ask for a recess.
Should I move for a recess?
All those in favor for the recess, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. So we are recessing for. Okay, so can we continue? Okay, so 1 minute. Okay. To move a motion.
I move to reconvene into open session.
Second.
All those in favor to reconvene, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are reconvening. So now we are on C. Okay. And certified survey map CS-25-9023. So, okay. So we have here your name.
Gary Gorman, I live at 5451 Wayland Road.
Okay.
And we are here because my son Adam, who's sitting behind me, his wife and his little girl are moving back from Colorado.
Oh.
And they would like to build a house on our family farm, the oldest component of which was homesteaded by my great-great-grandfather in 1852. So we have had significant discussions with zoning staff. I've reviewed all the conditions for approval. Those conditions are acceptable. And as I said to the Agricultural Committee earlier today, we very much appreciate the need to retain the agricultural nature of our farm and the surrounding area. If you look at the handout that was provided, the top page is a statement of intent, which is essentially what I just described. The first diagram, the Google Math map, shows where we're talking about, which if you're on Kane Road between Byrne and Wayland, we're talking about the parcel immediately to the west of that stretch of Kane Road. The second Google map has a little icon showing where the house would be built. And you can see that it's in a clearing of the woods. So there are very few trees, if any, that would be taken out. And secondly, it's not being dropped in the middle of a agricultural field. It's in a meadow that's part of the woods. So even visually, it would be almost impossible to see from Kane Road. So that's what we're trying to incorporate. We would like Adam to be part of our family farm, but we want to preserve the agricultural nature and function of the overall farm, which in total is 240 acres. So I appreciate your consideration of this request and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. So, Diana, can you do your report, please?
I certainly can. So this property is located on Outlot 1 of CSM 15046. The proposal subdivides the existing agricultural tract into two new agricultural tracts. Both tracts retain the existing zoning of AX, which is exclusive agriculture. The applicants have stated the intention to utilize Section 22-482(2) of the Chapter 22 of the Zoning Code to construct a new farm residence. So each of the new proposed parcels conform to the existing zoning requirements, which is a minimum size of 35 acres. The applicants would construct a new farm residence on that southernmost, the proposed new lot on the southern portion as a new farm residence. And I'll just kind of read here that Section 22-482, which states that new farm residence is an approved use that is only residence on the farm and is occupied by an individual who earns more than 50% of his or her gross income on the farm, subject to the provisions of Chapter 24. And what that means is Chapter 24 is our land division ordinance. And then I'm also providing to you a statement of how the state of Wisconsin, and therefore also Fitchburg, defines a farm as land under common ownership that is primarily devoted to agricultural use. So this is a different approach to the rural residential criteria that we've brought forward. A couple of months we did one of these new homes under rural residential criteria. In this case, the applicants are not proposing to use a claim under the rural residential development criteria. This property is a remainder of Base Farm 59, and Base Farm 59 doesn't have any additional claims left to use at this point. The claims were originally used for Lot 1 of the first CSM and Lot 2. Base Farm 59 does still have a rural residential cluster claim, which would be assigned to one of the two new created parcels. I apologize that these are I'm throwing around all these kind of confusing claims and rural residential criteria. I'm happy to answer any questions. The northern portion, the northern parcel, which is also just over 35 acres, will retain the same rights as the southern parcel. Staff suggested the northern parcel be designated as an outlot, but the applicant stated that that was not their preferred. So staff does recommend approval of the CSM to divide the existing parcel into 2 parcels, and there are 10 conditions.
Okay, thank you. Any question, comments? I have a question. Did the Ag and Rural Affairs approve this?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Do they have any concerns?
They have concerns, not necessarily they have concerns about the ordinance and the question of an individual earning 50% or more from farm income because, and they want in future meetings to discuss that because they feel it's, 1, hard to monitor, and 2, it does create a loophole because it's not that the household earns more than 50% of the income from the farm. It's an individual, so an individual in the household, I'm not saying it's true here, but an individual in the household could have no other outside income, have just some hobby income, and 50% is from farming, pickling or canning or something. And does that really meet the intent of the ordinance? So they do want to discuss that further.
Okay. Any comment?
I'll move approval of certified survey map CS 2590-23 with the 10 conditions as noted by staff.
Second.
Any further discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor of the certified survey map say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So next, we move to item D in the agenda. Is a pre-application for the Fitchburg Police Station. It's a request by Paul Woodrow, agent of the City of Fitchburg, to have a pre-application review of the proposed City of Fitchburg Police Station proposed to be constructed on property associated with 5540 Lacey Road. So Paul is here, and who else is here? And Beth Cerny? Yeah.
Cerny from
okay, who is going first? Paul or Beth?
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and get started, and I'll turn over to Beth. So what we have tonight is we have completed the schematic design of the police facility, which will be located at the intersection of Lacey Road, Research Park Drive, and Fitchburg Road quadrant, and we've completed the programming. And before we start design development, we're looking for any comments from Plan Commission. And as we work our way through design development, our intent is to complete the design further so we can come back to Plan Commission probably in February or March for site design review. So if you want us to go through more detailed the drawings, Beth from FGM is here to do that.
Sure. Good evening. Beth Cerny with FGM Architects. As submitted with the agenda packet previously, we have a schematic site plan showing the proposed police services facility, roughly about 75,000 square feet, a combination of a lower level walkout to the north with 2 levels above it. It'll be in total about 40 feet high at the highest point, with most of the building at about 1 to 2 stories above grade. We are providing public parking along the east side along Research Park Drive for approximately 30 vehicles, and then secured staff parking for the police and staff along the northwest corner, kind of tucked behind the building. There will be a main public entrance at the northeast corner, accessing off Research Park Drive, across from the municipal campus entrance. And there will be a secondary entrance off Lacey Road, which will be dedicated for police service vehicles to access the lower parking area and their sally port. We are showing some proposed areas for stormwater detention, as well as the, making note of the wetlands and the greenway easements and making sure we are well out of those easements. And then we have a rendering included. The building itself is a combination of masonry with some stone and some brick elements, a lot of glass with at the front entry, trying to kind of create a nice welcoming lobby for the public, and a nice entry plaza that we're starting to develop with a connection to a large community room accessed off the lobby. I believe we also submitted our schematic floor plans. I can go into further detail if you're interested. Just very high level, there's a parking garage at the lower level, accommodating about 35 vehicles with some tactical training spaces and some evidence storage spaces. The next slide is the first floor, which contains a bulk of the spaces for the police department. You'll see in the kind of beige color on the right side is the main public entrance with the community multipurpose room directly north of that. And then the rest of the first floor is filled out with prisoner processing, patrol offices, dispatch 911, and other staff support areas. And then finally, the second floor will accommodate an area for the police administration with their offices. At the north, the south side would be a large area for the detectives with some additional support spaces.
Okay, so I have a question for Diana. What are the things that you want us as a plan commissioner to look in this design? What are the things that we need to discuss?
Well, we're very early in the process. We have worked with the design team already. We have discussed the environmental corridor. They recently shared the wetland. I would just kind of make some considerations about the flow of the open space, the layout of the parking, how it connects into the rest of the civic campus. From my perspective, I think we're moving in the right direction.
Any questions? Gabriela, and then Josh.
I'll start with a question that I haven't had a chance to ask yet, but given the fact that Fitchburg Road, is such a main thoroughfare of the city, I don't love that the face of our civic campus is a whole bunch of parking, potentially with fencing and barbed wire. If that's because my understanding is that there's
what
because my understanding was that it was supposed to be secured for staff parking. But I could be wrong. But let me just finish my question. So I don't love that. I don't know why the original idea was to face the building towards the road, like the interior road in the area that no one sees, instead of having the building, even just like a facade, face the road. So I don't know how we. I feel like at this point there's no way to change that, given how far along the design process is. But I just don't know how we fix that. Like, how do we screen this so that it's as people drive down Fitchburg Road, they're just going to see a whole bunch of parking lot, which I don't know. I think that's a real shame that wasn't changed from the beginning. So,
Beth, would you like to answer that?
Sure, I can address a few of those items. We are showing some secure fencing. However, it will not be chain link with barbed wire. What we're proposing is more of a wrought iron picket fence. It's more of a higher end commercial fencing than a high prison security fencing. Some of the reasons.
Do you have anything that we can see visually that?
I don't have an example with me right now, but we can provide some examples for the future.
Okay.
Some of the reason the building is situated the way it is just due to the creek that cuts through the property. The creek, in conjunction with the slope of the site, there's quite a large grade change, about 12 feet from the southeast corner, kind of to where the creek is. So the building sort of really tried to work with the existing topography of the site, as well as staying away from the wetlands and the creek. If we addressed Fitch Hatchery more head on, there just wasn't enough footprint of the property to fit the building in, along with kind of the site circulation that we needed as for all the public parking and staff parking. But we have been addressing that northwest corner. We do understand that it's an important site of the building. Fish hatchery is very busy. So we are proposing, using masonry and nicer materials along the backside. It won't just be, a concrete facade. And then additionally, because of the sloping of the site, you will see from Fitch Hatchery almost a full 3 stories of the building, which I think will sort of diminish the parking that's in front of it, with the height of the building on that side actually being higher than the perceived height that you would see from Lacey Road and Research Park Drive.
Okay, thank you. Josh, do you have a question?
So I'm curious, the kind of long driveways extending to the north, it's just a lot of paved space. I'm surprised to see so much. Is that purely because of the grade change, or what's the purpose for the fact that it fills all the way to the north end of the lot there?
Some because of the grade change, but also because we were trying to align across Research Park with the main entrance into the City Hall campus.
Okay.
So the two curb cuts we have on Research Park are lining up with the east side of the campus to kind of create a connection there.
Any other questions? Gabriela.
Have there been any discussions about using, at least in part of the parking lot that's outside, permeable pavement of some sort?
Yes, we have several sustainability options that we are pursuing right now. One of those being permeable pavers. And we have some walking paths that we're proposing and some pavilions. That I believe is going to be brought to the commission in January, where we'll. Sorry, pardon?
RCC
Commission.
Yes. Where we hope we can start narrowing down what the sustainability objectives are and goals will be.
Great, thanks.
Josh?
So I really appreciate how much this obviously preserves the creek area, the wetland area, the existing trees, and really am a fan of kind of what the corridor that this is going to create. I'm curious if there's a potential for kind of the pavilion and the walking path that are on the western edge there to be outside of the fence and to be something that's incorporated to the public sidewalk, so that could be public access and that there could be potentially a gate for the police to still use it, but that you're encouraging people to kind of use this beautiful new corridor that's going to have this wonderful police station and all this greenery to the side of it. I think I'd love for us to have more public access, I guess, to some of these, great spaces that I think we're going to establish.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we will definitely look into that.
I didn't know that there was a creek there, so. Any other comments? No? No? Okay. I think we don't have any other comments, so.
Yep, there's no action taken on this item.
Okay, thank you, Paul and Beth.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we move to item E, Resolution R-239-23, accepting a public water main easement on Lot 2 of ZSM 13691 in first addition to Fitchburg Technology Campus.
So this is just a public water main easement just to the north of us on Nobel Drive and Research south of us. Oh my gosh. Research Park Drive, the corner of Research Park Drive and Nobel Drive. The daycare called the Learning Experience is under construction. And one of the cleanup items was to address the fact that the city needed to have access to the water main valve, which normally would be in the right-of-way. In this case, it's actually just so happens is sitting in the private property. So what is before you is a public water main easement so that the city has the ability to maintain this portion of the water line and the valve, which normally should be in the right-of-way, but in this case, it just kind of got into private property. So staff just recommends approval of the resolution, and all it does is accept that public water main easement.
Any questions, comments? No? Okay, I need a motion.
I'll move approval of resolution R-239-23.
Second.
Any additional comments? No? Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-239-23 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, thank you guys. So we are at the end of action items, and now we move to number 6, is report from the department. Any?
Do you want to start with Egg and Rural, or do you want to?
No, with your report.
Okay. So the only thing I want to just provide you with an update to the neighborhood plans. We are moving along on the neighborhood plans. A couple of weeks ago, on a Monday evening, we had the first open house for both neighborhood plans, the Greenfield neighborhood plan and also South Stoner Prairie. Staff was very impressed about the number of people that showed up, really excited about the input, and also just encouraging anyone that wants to participate or has some ideas, let us know. So we're kind of in this early stage of the neighborhood planning process. We're collecting information, meeting with stakeholders. Today, staff actually met with the Oregon School District and Verona School District as part of our fact-finding information gathering. We'll be doing that for a couple more months, and then once we start putting pen to paper and actually trying to figure out what goes where, I will come back and we'll start presenting some real meatier kind of things to Plan Commission. So more on that later. What I do want to tell you that we do have another meeting coming up very soon on January 4th. It's a Thursday. We are going to be doing a visioning meeting, and this visioning meeting is for the Greenfield neighborhood plan. And the reason that we're doing this in particular for Greenfield and is just because of the number of existing property owners and residents in that neighborhood as opposed to South Stoner. We want to make sure that we really understand and develop and work with the neighbors and the property owners to develop a vision. So that is a public meeting. It's open for anyone, and we'll be working with our maps. We'll be working with some photographs of potential development to try to understand what the neighborhood and what the community envisions for Greenfield. So January 4th.
What time?
5:30.
Here?
Probably in the community room.
Okay.
But oh no, we didn't tell Scott yet. I apologize, Scott. So he's shaking his head. Okay, I withdraw.
Surprise!
To be determined.
To be determined.
Yes. 5:30.
Community room.
Okay. We don't have the next steering committee scheduled right now. We're still working through when the next steering committee will be scheduled. But other than that, staff says happy holidays. Yes, Gabriella.
Can you send us an email when you've decided
Yes.
on the location? Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So now we move to the Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee report.
Okay, as I said, the committee wants to have further discussion on that ordinance to make sure that the intent of it really be a farming family be in the residence versus somebody who maybe would make $1,000 growing a garden on the property. But so they want to talk about that, and they're also very interested in talking again about the replacement of private wells in the grandfathering.
Okay.
So, but Deanna said that staff is continuing to look at it, and they're very anxious to get that back on the agenda.
So can I ask on this one where it was kind of an unusual case where you're looking at like a home going on a clearing surrounded by woods? I mean, would we really want a level of stringency to say that they'd have to then farm that land, which could mean clearing it? I mean, what's the ideal development of that 50% rule, and do you feel like there's opportunity for kind of flexibility in situations like this?
So I think I can take that. There's not a situation where our code or staff would recommend clearing for agriculture. Instead, what our zoning code and what our current codes would just want to make sure we maintain the existing farmland. So I don't think there's any intention in our comp plan or our zoning or anything that would encourage or put us in a position where we have to have clearing. That's not the intention here at all. Yeah.
Oh, and that's certainly it's not the intention of the Ag Committee. What they're concerned about is the permitted use to have a residence on farmland if it's a farming household, and that may not be true given the way the ordinance is written, which doesn't seem to be the intent of it.
Got it. Thank you.
And there's different rules if you do the farm family residence than if you tried to do just rural development in any other type, right?
Right.
Yeah, there's two different paths that are happening here.
Yes. Okay. So maybe because we don't know how to enforce that, they need to show us, the financials.
It's difficult.
That one is a tricky part. You know what I mean? Do we request tax return, financials? You know what I mean? So
the long and the short of it is, I think that Ag and Rural is interested in exploring this a little bit more, and I think there's ways that we could work to better address this. But we'll let Ag and Rural do some work on this, and then bring it back to Plan Commission, and if we have some paths forward, we'll explore that with council.
Okay, thank you. And next, Transportation and Transit Commission report. Gabriela.
Yeah, we met last week on Thursday, and we had a guest speaker, Colleen Hosley, she's a transportation planner for the Greater Madison MPO, which is the Metropolitan Planning Organization. And she did a presentation on the Safety Action Plan. Basically, they've done all this analysis about the region, about streets and where the issues are, what the design of the street that's causing both motor vehicle crashes, bike crashes, and pedestrian crashes. And as an overarching goal, they've set a goal to have 0 roadway fatalities and serious injuries on regional roadways by 2040. That's the goal. And there's actually with the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the federal law, there was $5 billion set aside over 5 years for safety for road. It's called Safe Streets and Roads for All program. And so there's all this money available for two things, planning and then also for implementation of safety solutions. So, and apparently the planning grants to date, anyone that applies for them pretty much gets them. So I think we're going to consider applying for one of those so we can do kind of our own safety plan. And the Greater Madison MPO has been doing a lot of, they have actual real data about like which intersections are at issue and like mapping out what actually has happened. So we can use that high injury network is what they call it to kind of design safe solutions in Fitchburg. And it aligns with what the Transportation Transit Committee has been talking about, a concept called Vision Zero, which is moving towards zero fatalities on city streets. So the council, so the commission's in discussion about, potentially bringing forward a council resolution to have that set as a goal so that we can move toward that and then potentially applying for one of those, the grants. And then we also looked at the new version of the traffic management process, which was previously the neighborhood traffic management process. So that was a long discussion, but we passed that. It should make it a little bit easier for neighborhoods to both, declare that they're interested in, after they declare that they're interested in having a solution, it's a little bit easier to qualify and that for staff to actually implement a solution. So that's
we opened the gate for everyone to request speed bump. This is what we did. Sorry,
but it is not past council yet. It is just past TTC.
Yeah, I know, but this is what it is. This is what it is. Okay.
And then we changed some parking prohibitions. I guess that's the one significant thing is that we amended Chapter 68 of the ordinances. It was to create no parking on a couple of different streets that have had issues. But then the other important thing was that it made it clear that there's no parking in bike lanes on Fitchburg ever, which I guess wasn't clear in the ordinances before. So now cars are not allowed to park in bike lanes regardless, for any reason. I guess once it passes council, I guess technically it's not in the ordinances yet, but that was not clear before and it will be after it passes council. And that's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Gabriela. So announcement is, so this is our last meeting for the year. Next year, 24, it's going to be a very busy year for us and for the planning department. The 2024, we are going to do a revision of the comprehensive plan and maybe the zoning code. We are working on the neighborhood plans because we need to think, this is what I want you to think about this. We need to have those neighborhood plans ready to go soon because I don't know where we are going to grow in the next 2 years, where it's going to be, because we have 2 years of inventory in lots. There are a couple of neighborhoods that are under construction now, but they are going to be done maybe in 1 or 2 years. And after that, if we want to build a new neighborhood, I don't know where it's coming. We have a lot of infill land. We discussed that with Diana. But sometimes those infill lots, they are not for sale, or the owner, they don't want to do anything. So this one is very critical for us to have those neighborhood plans ready to go. And also to do a revision of the comp plan because we need to rethink if we need to move our service urban area south, to incorporate more parcels in the future land use. So this is going to be critical for us because we need to rethink how we want our city to grow in the next 20 years. Okay, and it's going to be. The process is going to start in 2024, so that I am excited about that. So that's it. So I want to wish you happy holidays. See you next year.
I'll move to adjourn.
Yeah. Oh, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourning at 8:16. Thank you.